This week we are going to look at the art of another artist who uses computers. And in fact his work couldn't exist without computers. His name is Julian Opie. He is a British artist and he is very famous for portraits that are created using programs like Photoshop or Illustrator. As you can see, these are very simple. They use flat colors and thick black lines. But in English we say that something is deceptively simple, which means that in fact it is much, much harder to do than you would think. This kind of portrait doesn't use many lines, but each of them needs to be absolutely perfect and in the right place. In recent years, Opie's portraits have become even more minimal, just a circle for the head and basic shapes for the hair. But the lines for the body and clothes are always perfect, telling you everything you need to know about the character you can see. Julian Opie also uses computers to animate his portraits, and although in one way they are not realistic at all, in another way they are astonishingly lifelike. For our project today, we're going to try to do both types of portrait, and you can use a computer if you have one. If not, don't worry, we can just use paint. Here's my attempt at a self-portrait using Photoshop. Of course, you don't all have the image editing programs, so we're going to try this just using a pen now. For the first project, we are going to try to draw a portrait in the style of Julian Opie. And we're going to start with the head shape. That's the most important part. And I suggest that you start by drawing a kind of sort of U shape. Now, this is the chin, and for men it is wider. For women or girls it would be narrower. So that's the chin shape, and then you need to draw a slightly curved line upwards. That is the head. And then we are going to put in the eyes, and the eyes come about halfway down the head. And remember that with Julian Opie, you just use dots for the eyes. And then the nostrils come about halfway down the space that is left, so. And then the mouth comes about halfway down the space that is left here. So I'm going to draw a male mouth. What about the hair? Well, we're going to just put in the hair up here, like so. You can do any kind of haircut or hairstyle you want. And then the ears are on the same level as the eyes, and you can make these relatively simple. As I said, with Julian Opie's hair, it is always two-tone. There are always two colours in it, so I'm just going to put in a kind of highlight across the top here. And let's give this guy some glasses. And I guess it's looking a tiny little bit like me, but a younger version, but I'm going to give myself some beard, like so. And that essentially is your Opie-style portrait. And if you do one of these, I would like you to try to do a portrait of yourself or one of your friends. You can colour this using paint or pencils or felt tip pens. Just remember that when you do the hair, you will need two colours. What about the simpler type of Opie portrait? Again, if you've got an iPad, have a go at doing it on the computer. But if not, we're going to try to create the same kind of effect using art materials. This method involves using paint, ideally, if you've got it, but if not, you could also use felt tip pens or coloured pencils. Oh, and if you've got paper in lots of different colours, you can use that too. You don't need to do any painting or colouring at all. To start with, you're going to find something to draw around. Then you need to apply some paint to these circles, and you can use a paintbrush, but a better technique is to use a little piece of sponge and dab the paint on. We will be using this technique in future projects, but it helps the paint to be very flat and even so that you can't see any brush marks. I've done 3 different skin colours here because I'm going to make 3 different characters. Dab the paint on and then leave it to dry. The next step is to use your marker to draw around the head, and to do that you'll need to put the lid or whatever you used first time back down, draw around it, try to make the line as fat as possible. And then when you have done that, cut out your circle. This black line isn't as thick as the original Opie drawing, but it doesn't matter too much. If you've got a really thick marker, yeah, just make the line as wide as possible. When you have cut out your circle, you need to think about doing the hair. And if you rest a piece of paper on top, you should just about be able to see the outline. And first use a pencil to draw the hair shape you want. I think I will give this person a ponytail. And then you can use the pen to outline your drawing. And then mix up a hair colour and again just dab it on. Of course, this is covering the black line, but you will be able to go over it again once the paint is dry. While I'm waiting for the paint to dry, I'm going to do my two other heads. Let's go back to the hair. It seems to be dry now, so I can just go over those lines again with my marker. And then cut the hair out. This, of course, is the most important part. You want to try to make sure that the line you cut is as smooth and even as possible. Yep, that's okay. I'm now going to make the girl's dress. As you can see, I've already painted some paper blue, and I'm going to draw a simple shoulder shape, just the top of her body here. It's a nice idea to stick your Opie figures onto a bright background. If you don't have any coloured paper, you can just use a sponge to create a coloured background, just like we did with the faces and hair. There you go. I think Julian Opie would be proud of this. And I have another idea for you, which is to make a sculpture. Now this is one of Julian Opie's real sculptures, which is why I am holding it carefully. And you could make something similar by sticking your shapes to some cardboard. Of course, if you do this, the shapes will need to be connecting because you have to cut the whole thing out. It has to stand up. So I am going to start with the body. Make sure that your cardboard is big enough. Cut your figure out carefully. If there are any little bits of cardboard that you can see, you can just go over those with the marker again. And then just cut a strip of cardboard to make the base. Of course, you can paint this first in any color you want. The best way to stick it is, of course, with some super glue, but normal glue will work as well. You just need to make sure that it stays in place while it is drying. You could put a cup or something behind it.